Welcome to Trading Capital's exclusive analysis. In today's video, we're discussing natural gas. So natural gas fools, listen up, because if you have not been listening to these videos and you've been buying long, you're probably underwater on your trade and losing a significant amount of money. Now, I've been calling natural gas pretty accurately as of late, so it's definitely interesting to see how this commodity is responding significantly well to the technical support and resistance zones. And again, when I said natural gas was going to be making a new low and likely taking out this pivot, I got a lot of flack. I got some personal messages saying you sold too early, you got out, you're missing the bull market run. And look what has ended up actually happening. From where my members sold our long position on Nat gas is down 14%. So if you're still holding long, you're basically right back to a flat entry where my members previously bought. We started accumulating natural gas in and around this range and basically sold around this range. Missed a little bit of a pop here, but we were able to make up those missed profits with a nice short entry at this pivot high and riding it down to this big drop to 276. Now, stop talking about our trades. We'll just talk about the price action in front of us and how can we all start to make money from this next phase in natural gas. Well, many trading videos ago, specifically talking about natural gas, I said we were going to make a new low pivot. I said we're going to take out this pivot. I even was saying that when we were all the way up here at the $3 mark. And like I said, people were giving me flack, not believing it. And now look where price action is heading to. This is looking very heavy on a technical price perspective. You're not really getting any buyers. The fact that the markets were breaking out to all-time highs, seeing a massive inflow of liquidity on Friday, and natural gas closed down on the session, horrifically down 7.6%. You should be very concerned if you're a bull. However, if you're bullish on natural gas, that is all fine and dandy, because I do think that we will head higher in 2024, but not before we have a big flush out low. Now, many people are going to be buying support. I know a lot of traders are already have started accumulating natural gas at this vicinity, and they're all underwater. I have not entered a long position yet. I'm very tempted to, because I do see nat gas actually heading all the way back to $4 later in 2024. But I do think we've got to make a new pivot low, which should be a very healthy buying opportunity. So where do I see that pivot low happening? Well, let's just clean this chart up for now. We'll remove that little support trend line. And basically, what we're seeing here is a potential head and shoulders formation occurring. You can clearly see it on the weekly chart as well. You have your left shoulder here, you have your big head, you have your right shoulder. If you break this neckline, that does not bode well for natural gas. However, it does mean that there's a huge buying opportunity if we break this low, because I certainly want this commodity to be cheaper. I love to accumulate natural gas at these lows, but I do think on a technical perspective it is going slightly lower. So I'm just going to be patient with this one, because this typically has a tendency to overshoot in both directions, both to the upside and to the downside. And believe it or not, I think this little overshoot into this 310 level was a little bit of an overzealous move, too bullish too quickly. And I do think that we're seeing a hard sell-off as a result of that, catching many long position people. And again, natural gas has a tendency for investors to want to always trade the levered ETFs. They want to buy BOIL, which is a 3 times levered play. They want to buy KOLD, which is a 3 times levered play. So natural gas has a tendency to have insane volatile swings. For instance, just moving alone 7.6% down on Friday. Imagine you bought BOIL at the top here. You're already down 7, 14, 21, over 22, 23% on your trade in one single session. So sometimes buying the leverage plays in natural gas is very risky and not the most prudent thing to do, because this has insane volatility, let alone with 2-3 times leverage on top of that. So let's get back to the technicals. Let's see where we're actually going to be going. I have done some math calculations based off of some high pivot reversals, simple retraces here, and I do see a resistance, a support and resistance channel that we can actually play on the long side. This is going to take us to the weekly chart. If you go to the weekly chart, you can clearly see going all the way back here to November of 2020. If you drop a parallel channel from that 2020 high pivot all the way intersecting with these lows here, I honestly believe natural gas could have a shot at flushing all the way down to 195, piercing the $2 whole psychological number. Now, many people are thinking that's crazy. We're never going to bust through these lower boundary levels. But when you look at the monthly chart, this is really a monthly chart pattern. And again, natural gas has a tendency to shake people out. Look at this epic reversal monthly candle that you got here. We're talking about a huge monthly bottoming tail, roughly 20 to 30% deep of a reversal. So I think there's a great shot that natural gas can actually have a flush, breaking the support zone, shaking many of the long investors who started accumulating down here, because there's a whole slew of investors that bought off of this bottoming tail, that bought off the epic retrace, and they've thought they had a technical breakout to the upside, and now we're doing a hard mean reversion right back down to support. So one thing I'm watching, they flush to this channel here around 193. There's even a potential. There's even a potential for natural gas to come all the way back down to this gap fill at 186 on the charts. So if natural gas flushes in there, I'm going to be backing up the truck, buying with both hands. And look what just happened. As we're doing the video, the futures just opened. And look at natural gas getting pummeled, taking out the low. I just did this video and I said we're going to take out the low. And we literally just opened up and took out the low. That is freaky, guys. That is super freaky. I do not have a crystal ball, I swear. I'm just reading charts here. That is really freaky that in this video we just took out the low. We're talking about a gap down. This is not a small move. This is a huge gap down for the bears. We're talking about a 5% gap down in the futures on natural gas after you had a 7.6% flusher. All right, so what does this mean? Well, this does open up the probability significantly to a move down to 192-ish, even 186 gap fill. So keep those levels on your chart, draw in that parallel channel. Now, for a day trade perspective, I'm looking at some longs tomorrow. This is going to be really an intense opportunity to pick up some longs for a day trade. I do think there's the ability for natural gas to actually bounce all the way back to, let me just isolate down my support. So I think there's a shot that natural gas can actually, before it has a big technical breakdown, I think it could retrace all the way back to 244 here. So I think we could see some sort of a directional move. Let me just draw this in. I think we could see a potential bounce off of this little low pivot because there's a lot of support here. I think we could see a bounce and then a big drop down. So that's kind of the price action I'm looking at, and it's just so fascinating to see that my analysis was accurate from trading all the way up here, and I said we're going to bust through this pivot, and look what is happening. What's also cool is if you look at the weekly RSI on natural gas, take a look at this rejection. So I'm just going to pull up the weekly RSI. Look at that hard rejection off that RSI. Boom. And you're now making lower lows on the RSI and lower lows on this high pivot, or this low pivot. I apologize, low pivot. So that does suggest that odds are we're going to likely retest this channel. And again, think about it from a technical standpoint. When you have massive long-term buyers sitting here, right at this $2.10 level, if we pierce through that level, how many people are going to get shaken out of the trade? At least 50%. It's just a hard psychological lesson. When people break massive key pivot zones, they get shaken out of the trade. And I do suspect that we're going to see a flush through this level at some point in time. But on Monday, I'm going to be looking for an intraday bounce here. I do like this for a day trade because you are getting a pretty vertical drop to the downside. This is almost like a 90-degree drop. This is going to yield a bounce. Do expect a potential bullish reversal to close this gap, but expect a nice intraday reversal. Wait for the market signal. Try to get a reversal candle in the 10-minute chart, perhaps a bottoming tail on the high volume. But definitely natural gas is looking super weak and likely going to be trending lower in the coming sessions. But again, Monday, I will be looking for a potential day trade long, and then I will not be sitting in natural gas overnight until it hits my key technical level. Please give this video a like down below if you found it helpful. And to all my natural gas bulls, hold on tight because you're in for some rough waters in the coming weeks. Take care, everybody.